Good afternoon. I haven't seen you guys all day. Where have you been? Where have you been? I've looked everywhere. You know how to find out where something is? Dr. Seuss, in one of his books years ago, said he came up with this uh, equation called calculatus eliminatus. If you want to find out where something is, first you got to find out where it ain't. Genius. So if you ever start looking for something, calculatus eliminatus. I guarantee it works. Because once you've eliminated all the spots it can't be, you found it. I'm telling you, it sounds kind of corny, but it works. I use it whenever I can't find my sunglasses. Calculatus eliminatus. Where do I think they were? The last time I remember having them, where were they? And then work out. But anyway, that's not why I'm doing this video. The reason I'm doing this video is because a man came up with a very serious or very interesting a comment, and I've touched on it before. It's an issue which I have no input on at all, other than what I'm doing right here. It's an issue that affects every working man in the United States of America and in the entire world, and it is this thing called the minimum wage. The people that are working, of course, are for it, because without it, they wouldn't get paid anything. Probably these businesses would, well, whatever they get away with. Okay, all over the world, working people work for the lowest wages that corporations can get by paying them. That's a fact. And that's always been that way. And it will be that way until such time as either we just have a worldwide revolution and the corporations are brought to their knees and we change some system from a for profit totally to some other blended system where it works a little better and benefits the working people, the proletariat, the workers. And but anyway, it says now for the comment. Now that I've talked for 45 minutes, I'm going to tell you the comment. Oh golly, here we go. What are your thoughts on the minimum wage? It says the minimum wage here in Missouri was frozen for 10 years without an increase. Business people scream like heck when they think or hear about raising the minimum wage. They talk and act like the world is going to end. Well, for businesses, I have to tell you, that's the way they think. They think with their wallet, that's as I mentioned in my comment, and that's business. I mean, I was in business. I was a chief financial officer. I was the bean counter. I was the guy that was cutting those costs everywhere we could and looking at ways to reduce payroll costs because that was my job. I did it for 20 years. So I'm telling you, I know what I'm talking about. Corporations, for profit businesses, exist by making more and more profit. Because actually, when most people say the word profit to a business, a guy like me, I translate that into positive cash flow. Because without positive cash flow, that little profit number is just meaningless. You can be making a profit and you can have negative cash flow and have a profit. Okay? That's true. I mean, I'm not going to try to explain how it is, but in the accounting world, it happens. Okay? So having said that, back to the minimum wage. To get the minimum wage raised, all right, let's just say, in Missouri, they raised the minimum wage to $50 an hour. You know what that would do? There would be such a mass exodus of businesses leaving Missouri that the interstates would be clogged up. They'd be going to the next state, the one next door. And then if that one raised the minimum wage, they'd go next door. And they'd keep doing that just like they've done today. Next thing you know, they'd be going to Mexico or Canada or overseas to China, India, or wherever. And that's what's happened. Right now, they have a place to go. They have a place to run where there's cheaper labor, cheaper labor, cheaper labor, cheaper labor. All right? And they're also eliminating, as we speak, and I've said this before, all of the menial labor. is being replaced by robotics. And hundreds of thousands of jobs across this world. In fact, all those sewing factories that you see in China, they are being automated to the extent that humans are being laid off by the second. All right, they still have them because they got a bountiful supply of cheap labor. But as that cheap labor tries to move up the scale and get higher wages, then in comes the robotics, in comes technology, and out they go. And that's just the way it is. So the balancing act that these congressmen or any politician throughout the world has to face is, how do you get the money that has trickled up to the top back down to some of the masses, so that we don't have these massive movements of people migrating from the poorer countries to the wealthier countries. I mean, if they were making a good living in the country where they were, they wouldn't go anywhere. They love their culture. They love their religion. They love their little house or whatever they've got. They're not moving because they love the United States. They're moving over here because they think they can live better. That's it. That's simple. Anyway, enough said about that. Until we get, it's not going to happen. You know, it's kind of like you're never going to see the tooth fairy either. But until we get a worldwide union where the workers of the world unite, I think the Russians came up with that, then what you're going to have is what we've got now, this disjointed dislocation of wealth. You know, right now it's up here. You know, the bottom's kind of struggling to survive. And they keep taking all they can from the poor because they got to sustain that wealthy lifestyle. But either the economy will, the economy, that's can you put your hand on that one? Where's the economy? Can't see it, can't feel it. It's just a word. That's exactly right. Economics is just a word. The reality is corporations that are traded on the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ must show an increase in profit every single quarter, every single 3 months. If they don't, the value of that stock goes down. If the value of that stock goes down, then the board of directors starts looking around to chop heads off. Okay? And the guys that are going to have their head chopped off know that, so they're continually looking for ways to cut expenses, keep the profits up, even if they have to lie. Are they beyond lying? No, they do it every day. And the way they do it is get guys like me, bean counters, to shift the numbers around a little bit, or not show this one, or kind of we didn't really have that expense, or it really wasn't that high. Let's take a look at that. There's all kind of ways to kind of pad the book, so to speak, and it happens. It does happen. It happens in large corporations and all over the world. But having said that, is there light at the end of the tunnel? Yes, there is. And the reason is, just as socialism, or Russia, quote, failed, they didn't. Basically, their economic system wasn't conducive to conducting for-profit business because they just didn't play by the rules, and there was no way to do business in Russia because the person that made the rules today may not be there tomorrow, so the rules would change. We're starting to have the same problem in the USA. The people that deal with us are getting more and more gun shy, and so unless you have a system of laws, it's hard to do business. And having said that, I will say this. The United States has not been a capitalist country like most people envision for a number of years. It hasn't. It hasn't. It's run by the corporations. It has been for 150 years. Totally. Is that capitalism? I think they call that fascism, actually. When the corporations run the country, that's fascism. When the people run the country, that's a democracy. Is there a big difference? Yeah, damn big. But anyway, there's light at the end of the tunnel. It's changing. I mean, things change slowly, slowly, slowly. But it's changing. I see it now. I see it coming. I see where we're headed. Basically, what we're going to end up with is kind of a blend of a socialist society and a little for-profit. But instead of the corporations controlling the government, I think that's going to back off a little bit, and the government's going to take a little bit more control because the people are going to demand it over these corporations, and the trickle down will be a little bit bigger. You know what I mean? There'll actually be something left over for people to live on. But anyway, you guys in Missouri, you know, it's a shame you went 10 years frozen, but that'll bring in business. That'll bring business into Missouri, and the way they'll sell it to you is, boy, look at all these new business, look at all these new jobs we created. You know, even though they're $7.25 an hour, that doesn't matter. And you got to work 80 hours a week to feed a family of two, you and your wife. But having said that, folks, the good news is Rusty found a new place for his his camera. I've got it on my tripod, and what I did is I just changed the angle 350 pounds. Get out of here. So, thumbs up. Carpe diem. Adios. Bye-bye. Enjoy your day. Life is good, actually. It is. I'm telling you it is. You got to think it is. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye.